Hello everybody, here is a video about Tesla superchargers. I was actually quite lucky to go to the Tesla Fremont factory in June 2019, and actually the V3 superchargers was just out at the time, so that was actually a good reason to be there. Unfortunately, I tried to rent a Tesla to get there, but I couldn't, so I decided to go for a nice American V8. Apologize for that. Yeah, let's have a look at the Tesla Superchargers version 2 first. So this is the label rating of the cabinet, and as we can see, it has a maximum available power of 135 kilowatt. The cable of the V2 superchargers that everybody knows is actually a thick cable, and this is the interesting part here. This is the power rating that you can find actually on the supercharger. And what's interesting is that actually you can see they have two different temperature limits. And for the version 2 supercharger, you can see that actually the power rating below 25 degrees C, which is quite low, is only 110 kilowatt continuous power. So what it means is that actually this is what is going to be the average delivered to the car. So of course the kilowatt at the beginning of the charge is going to be higher, up to 145 kilowatt for the V2 stalls, and down during the charge to much lower levels as everybody has experienced. But on average it has to be below this limit of 110 kilowatt to actually not overshoot the capacity of the V2 stall. Nevertheless, it's quite interesting to see that there is a second power rating for above 25 degrees C. And a lot of people have been complaining recently that the V2 stalls don't deliver as much power as they should in summer. And that's one of the reasons that actually if you go above 25 degrees C, the V2 stall is only going to be able to deliver continuously 86 kilowatt, which means that the power at the beginning of the charge may be lowered to prevent the cable from getting too hot. So this is a V3 stall, which looks a little bit different than the V2 stall. But more interestingly, this is the power cabinet tag for a V3 supercharger. And there are some interesting things here. On the right of the screen, you can see something written post DC output, which is rated at 250 kilowatt from 0 to 500 volts and 631 amps. So that's basically the famous 250 kilowatt that the supercharger V3 is rated at. What I wanted to calculate was the what's the voltage actually you get when you get 631 amps at 250 kilowatts. So that actually equals to 396 volts, which is exactly what the Model 3 or Model S would need to be plugged in out to deliver the 250 kilowatt. There's also another interesting item on the tag, which is called DC input output, which is rated at 880 volts to 1000 volt, which is a bit surprising. But actually, when I did a bit of research, I figured out that this V3 cabinet can actually be plugged into a power pack, and the power pack battery is actually rated at 900 volts. And this is why you have a DC input output for the power pack. So this is the V3 cable, which is actually much thinner and actively cooled, seen from both sides. But let's have a look at the tag, which is on the supercharger. So you can see it's rated at 500 volts, 350 amps, up to 35 degrees C. So that equates to a maximum continuous power of 175 kilowatt, which is 65 kilowatt above the V2 stall, which is actually a big step forward. Nevertheless, the Tesla's batteries, as we speak, are about 400 volts, which means that the continuous power that can be delivered to a Model 3, Model S, and X is 140 kilowatts, which is an interesting part of the V3 stall. So it may indicate that there will be slightly higher voltages batteries in the future vehicles, mostly thinking about the Cybertruck, that you can actually get slightly more out of the V3 stall to the battery based on these limitations that you have on the cable temperature. So let's have a look at the inside of the V3 stalls. This is coming from a tweet from Tesla Europe. We took pictures of the V3 being installed in Portugal. So it's very interesting because that's the first time I see a V3 stall being opened and the elements inside. So as you can see, we can identify a coolant tank with a blue mixture, which for me would look like water glycol mixture to actually cool the cable and the connector. But more interestingly, on the bottom, we can see a pump on the right and also the heat exchanger, which is, well, pretty much a water glycol radiator with two fans, which do look a little bit like computer fans. And on the handle side, the connector side, this is the European version of the supercharger connector. So it's of course a CCS Type 2, and the design is different from the other HPC that we see on the market. So I can't wait to actually go on a V3 supercharger and test it for myself and see how it works and if I can get the 170 kilowatt from my Standard Range Plus Model 3. So I hope you liked the video. Please like, comment, subscribe. I'll be very happy to answer any comments down below. And thanks again for watching. Goodbye.